Hey there, everyone. Welcome to this morning's edition of MPC Markets Morning Call, 28th of October, 2025. Investor optimism on basically everything pushed stocks to fresh record highs last night. It's all sunshine, lollipops and rainbows. We've got rate cuts coming. We've got China and the US essentially close to a trade deal. And, we've got no figures to tell us that the economy is slowing. And everyone's still frothing over AI as well. So we've got earnings coming up for some of the big names this week, 4 or 5 of the mega caps. And so realistically, we won't see any major downward movements in those guys. Certainly, there are no problems going up at the moment. So and the words world peace are being bandied around quite a bit as well. So apparently after 5,000 years, we're going to get peace in the Middle East. So, it's all, as I said, all sunshine, lollipops and rainbows. First time I've ever seen this. Every single index from basically every time zone in the world, from an hourly to a daily to a weekly, every single one of them is a strong buy. Call me old-fashioned, but I'm probably thinking that that's getting towards extreme optimism. Trump's going to be meeting with the new Japanese Prime Minister today. He's doing a bit of a whistle-stop tour of Asia, and look, he's really good at these things. Let's face it; he's a marketing genius. So just expect continual trade deal announcements and things like that to be made. Look, this moves a train without a station at the moment, and I think it's foolish to get in the way. So essentially, you just be. But obviously, when it turns, it'll probably turn fairly nasty. A good example of that is what's happened in gold and silver. Look, we had, I'll have to flick to the end of it here, but we're now down 9% for silver and 9% for gold in the last week and 3% overnight. But we made those very frothy highs and everyone was lining up outside of bullion dealers and the whole works. And then, you sort of reach that peak optimism. So I think it's a bit of a lesson to maybe go and have a look at how markets behave at sort of medium to short-term tops and bottoms as well. It's a pretty good example of peak optimism or peak panic. All you got to do is flip the chart upside down. Nvidia was up, Google was up as well, Amazon was up 1.23. There's been sort of internal documents leaked for Amazon saying they're going to get rid of 35,000 staff, which is 10% of their executives. And the internal plans are also saying that they're going to, they are looking to, by 2033, which is this year's nearly over. So we're talking, 7 odd years. Place 80%. That's right, 80% of their staff with robots. So, obviously that's going to be great for the company, but they employ a lot of people. So essentially, you've got to be very careful in terms of what that's going to do for the economy in the long term. As normally, these things are met with optimism when they report, when they're cutting jobs. So. Berkshire Hathaway got downgraded by a few brokers overnight, which is why it was down. It is sitting in a lot of cash at the moment. They're worried about succession plan. They're worried about what they're holding. Apple's still their biggest holding, so I would have concerns as well, given how much I'm not a massive fan of Apple in the long term. But you can see these chip stocks were up really nicely as well last night. So just green across the board. You're literally talking Berkshire Hathaway and Philip Morris and Walmart were the only 3 stocks I can kind of spot that are down, essentially. Maybe Philip Morris is down because no one's stressed about the market. No need for a cigarette. So who knows? We will have tonight United Health. That'll be a massive one. We do like United Health. It has been through the wars. Hopefully, it will come out relatively unscathed. And then, look, the big show starts at the end of the week. You got your Microsofts, your Meta, your Apple, your Amazons, Eli Lilly and Merck, and then some of the big oil companies. We do have a Fed decision on the 29th, which will be Thursday morning. So basically, this bull run's it's just on until Thursday. There is really no reason with economic numbers not coming out of the US for this thing to remotely turn around until that Thursday morning sort of thing. So we will see. We'll just see what happens from that point and see whether these guys justify. What we'll be looking for in these earnings is very much the monetization of AI, whether that capex is being returned to shareholders or whether it is just genuinely froth. We are expecting 25 basis point minimum cut in the US, which might not be. I think it'll end up just causing an inflation spiral, but that's next year's problem. And copper prices as well, just as we flick on to the next part, rose to fresh records on LME. Basically, Freeport-McMoran is still having issues with this ongoing shutdowns, which is a massive part of the world copper supply. You would also expect there's the NVIDIA GTC event, which is it's like a little chip, not little, it's like a chip convention. So there'll be plenty of good news in the next 24 hours out. Jensen's also a great showman, also incredibly smart. There'll be some great announcements there, but you'll certainly see some positivity around the chip sector and the AI sector in the next 24 hours as well as that event goes on in Washington this week. Yeah. Qualcomm as well surged 11% overnight because they launched a new AI chip designed to challenge NVIDIA and AMD. We'll see some of the benchmarking results from that over the next 24 to 48 hours, I'm sure. A lot of people have said that before. I think the genuine strength of NVIDIA is that they were smart enough to know that people would catch up, and they've tied people into their ecosystem. So Google also made an announcement with NextGen to restart an Iowa nuclear power plant last night as well. Was not much positivity from NextGen for whatever reason. As you can see, uranium was off slightly. The uranium ETF was down about 1%. So, but really in the commodities and the commodity space, fair bit of damage done in terms of gold, silver, and platinum, down 3%, 3.5% for silver, down 1% for platinum. Copper was up 1% and that record high, but iron ore as well actually rallied about 2%, bounced yesterday. I would imagine on the back of optimism on the Chinese economy now that they're going to do a trade deal supposedly with the US. So I think lithium did make a fairly significant high mid-session and then ended up coming off, but there's still some positivity around that as well. Currency's largely unchanged. While there was a bit of news, as I said, overnight, most of the positivity was priced into the Aussie market. We were already at the we'd already seen the futures up 1% during the day session, so the SPI was actually down about 0.4% overnight. So don't look. I still think this is going to continue for the next 2 days, particularly. You've got, as I said, those key things with the NVIDIA conference will provide AI headlines. Trump's still in Asia, which will provide trade deal headlines. And then people are just speculating. We've got no economic numbers, and everyone's talking rate cuts, so nothing's going to derail that because there's no numbers out. So I very much can't sit with all of those technicals and strong buys. I think if we do open lower in the SPI or the Aussie index today, I think you want to be buying on open and probably seeing it grind higher over the course of the day, particularly with the likes of copper dragging up BHP and Rio and things, which are probably two of the cheaper copper companies in the world compared to their US and global peers. So, and just a quick one, people, you can see in our socials, just similar to the defence webinar we did last month, the security super cycle next Tuesday, which I'm very aware that it is Melbourne Cup Day. So we are going to have an on-demand version of the webinar. It will also be RBA Day as well. So, but if you go and register, you get a free ebook, and then you can watch. We'll provide it on demand copy of the webinar, but it will be done live for those of you who aren't into your horse racing and aren't into watching the RBA. But you'll be able to see that, and very similar to last month. They've been very successful so far. Last month's was basically we ended up having to send out the link to people because we ran out of seats in the live webinars. So register now. You'll be able to see. I'll put the link in the socials in the comments field. Yeah, enjoy the run, people. As I said, maybe good time to be reviewing portfolios. We're up I think we're up about 41% now from the lows, which is pretty. And this is the third best rally since the mid 90s. Certainly the biggest rally I've seen, because that's around about when I started. So yeah, maybe always be reviewing your portfolios, but for the moment, just enjoy the ride. Have a great day. We'll speak again tomorrow. General advice warning. The content presented in this presentation is intended for informational purposes only and provides general advice only. It does not take into account your personal objectives, financial situation, or specific needs. This information should not be the sole resource when making investment decisions. We strongly recommend you seek the advice of a financial professional.